That's awesome. So, one big reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast is with your athletic background. So, I work with a plethora of athletes, ranging from soccer players to football players to basketball all the way to softball. A lot of them either being youth, all the way to high school, college, and a couple even professional. Having been on both sides of the spectrum, being an athlete and also being a coach, and now being more of a business person, can you give a little bit of insight of what that transition was like in the beginning stages?
Yeah, I think the big thing is, and a lot of people, I guess myself too, if you're a fan of sports, or whether you played them or even just a fan, a lot of people want to get into the sports business but don't exactly know what those types of roles are going to be, and they just want to be close to it and around it. And I think that's a big it's a hard transition for a lot of people because you want to see your sport like you do as a fan, but then when you get up close and see the nitty gritty of it and the amount of work that it takes, I think that's a it can sort of ruin a lot of people's perception of the business side of things. And I don't think that as a like myself, going from youth sports to somewhat semi-professional stuff later in my life, it's you get caught up in the fun fan aspect of it when you're in it, and then the transition difficulties for a lot of athletes, former athletes, and getting into business is it's still a lot of work, and it's it's definitely not the glamorous type of position that you'd see from the outside. And I think especially higher level athletes, the difficulty that they have is they forget that it took them almost their whole life to get as good at something as they do, and then that transition is difficult. You're so good at something and you want to be able to take that and move it into something else, but it doesn't it doesn't translate. So what a lot of athletes forget, and we see this with athletes who want to get into investing and into business themselves, is you're so good at what you do, but a lot of people forget that they've been doing it since they were 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and you only got as good as you did because of the amount of hours that you invested in it early on. So we'll see this a lot in that secondary career, post-retirement, post-injury, where athletes will try to immediately jump into a business and expect to be as good at it as they were at their sport. But it doesn't always translate. So some of the super competitive people, the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans, the LeBron James, those guys who are super competitive will probably have a shorter learning curve just because of the nature of, they understand the mindset that it takes to learn and are committed to learning. But that aside from the rare occasions that it comes easy to them, people forget that you are only as good as you are because you spent the last 15 years working on your craft, and it may take you that same amount of time in business, especially if you've never done it before. So that's why we see a lot of players investing and co-founding versus starting up their own businesses. It's a very different transition, and a lot of people struggle with that.